Good evening. It is Tuesday night at 9 o'clock, and that can mean only one thing. The UK Colts fan group has shown up, unlike our team for the past few weeks. Um, Joining me, as always, is the man whose voice is as lush as the hills as where he comes from, and that's Nathan. How's it going, bud?
It's going good. I never ever get bored of that intro, mate. Honestly, I could listen to it 100 times and still not get bored of it.
We have to try and we have to try and keep it interesting because at the minute our franchise is not keeping things interesting. Um, we was away. We missed the Texans game because of illness, so we'll just talk a bit on that and the whole tapping out and the ridiculous, absolute ridiculousness of the media blow up of that. So the Texans game, I I don't think it was horrendous. It was just sloppy, and I mean it's been a long time since that game, and we've all slept since then. So correct me at any point, but it feels like to me, and I don't know how long I've been saying this in my head about the Colts, that we just can't string anything together.
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right with the ridiculous media reaction. Because I think only Dan Orlovsky, so shout out Dan, actually covered how bad the receiving play was. You know, the drops, the just complete. There was some really good plays made by Texans defenders too. I'm not going to take that away.
Mm-hmm.
Some really good pass breakups, etc. But yeah, I think the overarching um, thing, as you've said, is kind of tap out gate, and I'm sure we'll get to how we both feel about that.
Mm-hmm.
But the game certainly wasn't that bad, and I think if you look at it with kind of rose tinted glasses, if AD Mitchell's super catch counts, and if Pierce isn't called for what was a kind of ridiculous OPI call,
Mm-hmm.
Colts are up 14 in that game, and Richardson looks like a superstar again.
And I don't think Stroud's been off for a couple of weeks. Really, he's you know, fair play to Stroud. He's been electric ever since coming into the league, and he's just going through what every rookie goes through, and that's a sophomore slump. And every rookie means every rookie quarterback that is currently in the NFL. Um, so I want to say with that game, if two, I mean, I know it technically wasn't touchdown, but we had the jet sweep that went for like 40 yards or whatever, man. If that and like you say, Pierce's touchdown don't get wiped, then it's a fantastic game for Richardson, right? Because I think he comes out with like 3 touchdowns and probably 200 odd yards passing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I didn't really have a problem with the referees, the umpires calling it because they seem to be strict throughout the game. So yes, I hated that call, but it's one of them things. If a refereeing crew is constantly strict and consistently strict, that's fine.
You're okay with it?
That's what it was like all game.
Yeah.
But like you, and I suppose like a lot of people out there, we're having the same problem. I think it's an epidemic in sports where referees are going by letter of laws and not just implying a bit of common sense. And that was just a crossing route that someone's got caught up in. And I think for it to wipe the touchdown completely off is as harsh as saying like falling over and a player tripping over you is a penalty. Do you know what I mean? It does that equate that penalty? And it's the same, I think, along the lines of, there's several examples. So for like illegal hands to the face is like 15 yards or something like that. And I'm like, is that really, are we classing that the same as roughing the passer? There's loads we can look into, but that's for the off season. So the big thing coming out of that game is tap out. Like you say, tap out gate. The first thing, calling it tap out, and the whole word tap out is tapped out of a game. He's tapped out of a game. Is a fucking witch hunt, scandalous, just absolutely rage bait, engaging sort of phrase. He didn't tap out of a game. He needed 30 seconds. He needed a 30 seconds that I'm guessing Shane's called a run on. So he's like, he's a 22-year-old kid who's gone, I just need 30 seconds. And after losing Manning to a neck surgery, after losing Andrew Luck to multiple horrendous injuries, after every media outlet, including McAfee, who I think's, he's just lost me as a fan completely after all this, and Butler, and basically everyone saying Anthony Richardson needs to protect himself. He's the future, needs to protect himself. To then completely flip on the kid for protecting himself, I think is just fucking horrendous. And I went off a bit there, but
so it's all good. We've been waiting for this episode to do just that, right? So, I'll come in there. So, there's two ways to look at it, right? A quarterback can't tap out of a game. It just can't happen. I'm never going to support that decision. We've watched Andrew Luck take us through horrific scenarios, with a completely busted shoulder that nobody knew about. Mm-hmm. He played through every snap. He never complained about it. You see our O-line, which has been particularly good the last 2 years, mm-hmm. putting everything on the line, blocking for Anthony. And there's rumours that I've seen today that he actually had like a niggling pain, mm-hmm. but he chose to say he was tired because he didn't want the media going, he's injured again, sort of thing. Yeah. But yeah, QB can't tap out of a play. I think it's been horrendously managed. For me, Steichen should have given him, the old hairdryer treatment, mm-hmm. The Fergie once gave. That should have been public. The camera should have been on it. Steichen should have been in his face, ripping him, tearing him. All the captains should have been around, ripping him, tearing him. He should have been benched straight away. And that's that. Call him out in the press conference, say how ridiculous it is, and then Anthony can come out and face the music as well, and we just move on. Mm-hmm. And we wouldn't have had to have watched that absolute shit show on prime time in the lights when we as fans are then told, all of a sudden, this Indy team is win now with Joe Flacco. It's a crazy situation, and I guess we always talk about hindsight on this podcast and mm-hmm. how much Anthony probably wishes he had that back.
Yeah, I'm with you, right? It's for me. If this is he was done. He was done. He was tired, whatever. I think, like you say, if it's me dealing with this, and I'm in Shane Steichen's shoes, I get them. He's out for that game, right? Mm. That Texans game. You want to be a big boy, be a big boy. Mm. But I take him into the blue medical. I get the blue medical tent up. Me and him go in. Reggie can quite handily take over. Me and him go in there, and I say, "What the fuck is up with you?" Mm. And excuse the language, but if he says, "Oh, I just needed a break," like you say, he gets ripped a new one, and then it gets in Chris Ballard's office Monday morning, and with Q with Pitt, and he gets ripped a new one.
Mm.
And then do you know what? He's been ripped a new one. He's a 22-year-old kid. That's the end of it. Take it on the chin. We've all been there before. We've all fucked up at work. You know, I've done it. I've had quite a few Royal Navy officers screaming in my face. You know, I've been there, done that. You take, like you say, you take your medicine. You get in the locker rooms. You say, "Do you know what, boys? Sorry, I messed up. Pints are on me." Right.
Mm.
And then you go out, you forget about it, you get back to training, you get back to it. Him coming out, he should have never been put in front of the media after that game. He should have never been allowed the chance to say on national television, it was because I was tired.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I agree.
I think America, and I love our American friends, still has a bit of backwards way of looking at sports mentality, growth, and development. In the fact they're very much, you watch any film, it's all die for your team sport. You know, it's all you have to give everything, and that's sort of the way they look at it. Where I think this is going to come across very xenophobic. It's not, but I think in Europe, and maybe we've seen this with Andrew Luck, is that we're a bit more nuanced in the way we think about how we think about sports and development. I just think they failed. I think the Colts have failed to protect Anthony from the media and from himself. I think this whole charade of saying Joe Flacco is making us win now. He's now, Shane Steichen has made the mistake of backing himself in the corner where he now has no choice but to double down on Joe Flacco.
Yeah, you make a great point about the American media too. I'm going to name two huge media outlets that I've seen do complete U-turns on their opinion of how Richardson should be dealt with. Number one is ex-Colts punter Pat McAfee, who completely threw Richardson to the dogs. You know, his whole crew did. They completely tore him down, said how Flacco should come in, etc., etc. You've got First Take, you know, with Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp. They were completely just disrespecting this kid on live TV. Colts get destroyed by the Vikings on prime time and put up season lows on lots of offensive metrics. Oh, now everybody was wrong.
Yeah.
McAfee's on TV apologising for his opinion and how they should never have benched Richardson, and you know, Stephen A. and Shannon and whatever today as well saying exactly the same thing. It's so reactionary. You know, they just want to be relevant in that exact second, and they'll say whatever they need to say. And I think you make a great point with development too. You know, we all knew when we took Anthony that he wasn't ready. And, you know, Chris and Shane sat in a press conference and told us all how patient we need to be and how, you know, this is all about development, it's all about developing Anthony, this is Anthony's ball club, etc., etc. Gone straight away. And Steichen must be on incredibly thin ice right now. Because as you said, he's gone to the podium, thrown his young QB under the bus, has taken Joe Flacco into the big dance, the one that everybody's watching, and put up season lows in multiple metrics. This could be about saving his job this season. Yeah. He was terrible on Sunday. And for the first time, the Colts reporters actually asked him about play calling. Yeah. They asked him, have you lost confidence in your ability to call plays?
Yeah.
That's it. That's insane.
Yeah. Just got a comment from Howard, new viewer. Nice. McAfee made himself look like a freaking clown. Yeah, I mean, I want to make this. So I got, because I've seen a few guys, and obviously we respect these people who have been legends of the game. That's the whole point. These are people who we looked up to, right? So I've got no problem with McAfee and others coming out and saying he can't do that. That's BS. You can't tap out of a game. I want to change that because he didn't tap out a game. You can't tap out of a drive when you're in the red zone. You can't do it. Young kid, you may have said, but you can't do that. Blah, 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 blah. You then can't, like, you just can't then turn around a week later when your old mate Joey Flacco has put up an absolute stinker to say, "Oh, we was wrong." No, have your opinion, but stick with it. And it's like, I think the best person who's come out of this, or who's come out looking the best from this whole situation, is someone I'd never thought I'd say this about, but it's JJ Watt.
Oh, yeah.
For those who haven't seen the clip, I'm obviously like not quoting it properly, but it was just he was saying what we're saying now. He said it much more nuanced, but he was saying what we're saying now in the sense that he's just made a mistake. Like, geez, I think I put in our group chat. I hid in a bin of robes because I was hungover at work at 22. You know, and that was that was for the Navy. So like, a kid's made a mistake, and just everyone thinks they know better, don't they? All these. I watched a clip of two guys, ex-players, who probably the last time they run a 5-yard 40 dash was never, or when the McRib relaunched at McDonald's. You know, he's slating this kid, and I'm just like, everyone's like, you can't keep running into players, you can't keep doing this, but then the second, I just like, we talk a lot about this show, and we try and do about mental health because of the Colts kicking the stigma. You know, we try and do shows about that. And you've absolutely just thrown this franchise has just thrown this quarterback to the absolute wolves. And I just like, it makes me sick because of what we've seen with Peyton, what we've seen with Andrew. And I just think, yeah, Anthony Richardson was never coming out the draft as the next Peyton Manning, the next Andrew Luck. But we all saw the ceiling, and like you say, it's just gone. It feels like everyone in the building, including Ballard, has gone to, let's save my own arse. But anyway, on from that, the last sort of side note, I believe her name is Carly. Is it Jim Irsay's oldest daughter? Was on the sideline.
Oh yeah, she was behind Shane, wasn't she, with a headset on? Yeah.
That's interesting. Owners are not usually that hands-on.
Yeah.
Obviously, that is a Jim, due to age, is not the wellest bloke. Signs of maybe she's coming in at the end of the season. You know, new owner comes in. I know it's not technically a new owner, but a new head person comes in. Heads roll, people change. Is this I mean, my simple question, Nathan, is what the fuck's going on with this franchise?
Great question. And just want to shout out Howard too, because I think you make a great point, mate. McAfee has made himself look like a complete clown. You know, we've praised him a lot on this show. He's always kept the Colts relevant in a market that just literally doesn't care about us as a team. So cheers for joining in, and cheers for chucking a great opinion in the chat.
We'll just Nathan, we'll get to Howard's comments. We're all called. Yeah. Richardson is doing better for his first 10 games than a number of mostly highly regarded QBs.
Yeah, you need to come on the show because this is what we've spoken about quite a lot. And yeah, if you pull up the numbers, Howard, he's certainly, you know, there with some really good company, and it's the whole thing is just a crazy debacle, and maybe I can tie it into your question, Harrison. So I actually researched the whole daughters in the background thing because I was pretty fascinated by it, and they've openly said that they want to learn the football side of the business. You know, they want to learn the X's and O's, as they called it. So A question that I'll probably bounce back to you with a little bit of added context is what's going on with the franchise. Are we at a point where we're going to see mass change? We are in year 8 of Ballard's tenure. We haven't won the division in years. We've regressed. We've become a team that can't really finish. You know, Shane this year is up, is down. He's constantly at the podium blaming himself. I don't think that's a good look for a head coach in the National Football League with an owner who sacked someone and put our old centre in charge. I really don't think that's a good look. And I want to kind of position. Let's look across a few states and let's go to Washington, a team that's been in complete disarray for many, many years. They have a wicked fan base who have gone through hell the last few years, and they got a new owner, a new GM, a new head coach, and a franchise quarterback who's taken the league by storm. And do you know how long it took? 1 year. It's taken them 1 year to do it. Do you think the Indianapolis Colts are at the point where we have to do that? I'll put that to you.
I think Ballard's gone.
Me too. Completely agree.
I think he is absolutely gone at the end of this year. And I think he's dug his own grave. Because you look back at some of these drafts and Josh Downs and AD Mitchell both in the third, was it?
Yeah. Mitchell second, Mitchell Downs second, third. Yeah.
Juju Brents, Latu's obviously a given. But Anthony Richardson was his big swing. And then...
And he's given up on him. What the hell? What are we watching?
He has let... If, like you say, if I'm Chris Ballard, you have let your head coach just absolutely kill your quarterback, who you chose, who you went... Chris Ballard fucking loves an athlete, right? Probably, I would say maybe half of the other GMs take Will Levis there. He's a safer bet.
Yeah.
Regardless of what's going on this year, at the time, he was regarded as the safer bet at QB, the more NFL-looking QB. And your head coach has benched him. I'd be like, no, you have got a first-round quarterback who's a freak of an athlete, and he's actually a pretty decent quarterback for the sample. I suppose we'd say the sample size is too small, but he's not bad. I've never once come out of a game thinking, fuck me, Richardson's shit. Like that. Never once come out of a game thinking that. I've come out of every game going, at least we're not in QB purgatory anymore.
Yeah, you sort of come out of it, and our group chats usually popping off with lots of emotion. But you kind of come out of it and you go, yeah, he's got a lot to learn.
Yeah.
He's going to have to go through these scenarios again. And, I think a theme has been he's got to make some of the layups and he's got to make some of the, the check downs. But I agree. We haven't even seen enough of him to think he's bad yet.
Yeah.
He's 5-5 in the 10 games he's played in, which I think is a really interesting stat. And as Howard has touched on, if you look at the record books, he's competing with the likes of Josh Allen. And when Allen came out of college, very similar situation. Lots of people were like, he needs to learn, he needs to play, he needs to be out there. And look at what he's turned into, And I'm not saying Richardson's going to be the next Josh Allen. We simply don't know. What we do know, I think, or what all of us fans want to know is, let's at least give him a chance to be.
Yeah. And what we do know is it's not Philip Rivers, it's not Carson Wentz, it's not Matt Ryan, it's not Gardner Minshew, it's not Jacoby Brissett, it's not fucking Joe Flacco.
Well,
I just want to bring up a point Howard's commented, because I think this is actually a point that gets quite overlooked and we don't think about because it's a coach and not a player. But the important thing to remember is Steichen was Ballard's pick 2, not Irsay, not the second choice after the first guy declined. Now that latter point there is important because obviously McDaniels declined and we ended up with Frank Reich. So that is also a big part of his swing. He's gone with the young, aggressive coach, the young, aggressive QB, and nobody likes each other.
And I don't want to portray that I'm not a fan of Shane Steichen. I am. I was really happy with his hire. And I've kind of sat on this show quite a lot and pointed out what I think is a factual thing to say of we've barely seen the playbook he brought from Philadelphia. We've not yet seen it. And this year, what we've seen way too much of is deep shots. You know, we're putting a kid who's learning the league in a position where he's often got to make huge throws, and that leaves him in 3rd and 10, 3rd and longer sometimes, trying to get out of it in, you know, which is probably something we'll get on to on a different show. But yeah, Howard, I think you make a great point, and like I genuinely believe Ballard's done. If we don't win the South this year, how can he be hired? How can he keep his job? The guy's a fraud.
Yeah, I think for now that's enough about the off-field antics. So to get to the Vikings game, something interesting. The last offensive touchdown we scored was a 1-yard run by Jonathan Taylor against the Texans in the 4th quarter. Yeah, and I have to believe, you know me, I'm quite a positive guy about the Colts, and I have to believe in Shane Steichen. And the end of the first half against the Texans, where we throw it's not a pick 6, but essentially it's a pick 6. And then in the Vikings game, where you've got a slim chance of getting in field goal range, you kneeled the ball. And I'm just like, hold on a fucking minute.
I was exactly the same as you. Yeah.
You've just, like, and then, like you say, you can stand there and say, oh, I need to do better. I need to do better. That's not accountability. You know, you could have said after the Texans game, do you know what? Yeah, I fucked up being aggressive there going for it at the end of halftime. I shouldn't have. I should have been smarter. And then you can come out after the Vikings game and say, well, that's why we kneeled down. But you've not. You've just, oh, it's on me. It's on me. You can't keep saying it's on me. At some point, you have to, like, yeah, it is on you, but just saying it's on you, it's like, how many times have you got to say sorry? But
yeah, and it's starting to become eerily expectable when he walks to a podium, almost like the era of Frank and the mountain climbing analogy. And you know, you just knew that's where he was going to go. You knew that's where he was going to direct his questions. And you know, I was eagerly waiting for Shane's press conference Monday when I woke up, and you just knew what he was going to say, and he did. He said it word for word. It's a carbon copy of. And like I was saying, you've got Jim Irsay above you, mate, who got rid of Frank like that, benched Matt Ryan, you know, probably a future Hall of Famer like that, all for not being good enough. and he's standing on the podium in front of the world and admitting he isn't good enough. It's just not a good look. This has been a horrible 2 weeks in the Colts front office. Horrible.
And like we say, I will get on some more positive things, but we need the offense to have a moment like the defense seems to have had. Our D has been fairly spectacular after a rough start. Our offense needs that. Yeah, Howard, I'll get onto the defense because I have a lot to say when they're bad, so I'm gonna have a lot to say when they are fucking really good. But just honestly, I've been sat in the car on my lunch at work today, eating my sandwich, and I've just been thinking, what do I say that I haven't already said about this team in the last 6 years? I think we've been doing this maybe 3-4 years now. Like, it's all the same. I'm saying all the same stuff over and over and over again, and I feel like I'm just a fan. Does Chris Barr not get sick of seeing the same results?
Yeah, I actually was speaking to some friends Monday, and I kind of summarized being a Colts fan as, like, I hate saying this, especially like on YouTube where people could easily bring it back up in future, but it just feels a bit pointless at the moment.
Yeah.
Like, it's just really directionless. Now that Richardson's been benched, it's just the same. Like, it was scarily, familiar watching Flacco out there. It felt like watching Ryan. I don't know if you agree. It felt like watching Matt Ryan, where everything was slow, everything was just check downs. Don't get me wrong, Joe threw some really nice passes in that game, and that's kind of what he's paid to do. But yeah, it just feels a little bit directionless right now. Maybe pointless isn't the right word. Rudderless. Yeah, I like that. That's a better way to put it.
Yeah,
it feels very rudderless.
And I think we said in the group chat earlier, I was talking in the group chat, or it might have just been to you, and I'm just like, I'm sat there thinking, he's a 39, very experienced quarterback. He's not going to throw that pass. He's not going to throw it. He's not going to throw it. He's not going to throw it. And he just launched it straight at a defender.
Triple coverage too.
Not even like, you don't even like look at that and go, fuck me, what a play by the defender. He's just throwing it at a wide open Vikings play. And I'm like, I know you used to play for him. Maybe you've still got concussion from that hit you got from him. But I'm just like you say, it's just deja vu. I feel like Bill Murray. I'm going, is this a Groundhog Day? I'm going insane, mate.
It does. Let's talk about the defense, because we it's on my notes as well. I keep looking at my phone to stop forgetting what I want to say. And we always rip this defense, so let's give them some praise.
Yeah, let's get positive. I have been not Gus Bradley's biggest fan, I think it's fair to say. And I still do think we are relying on individual excellence rather than we are a well-coached defense. Just want to preface that. That being said, what a fucking performance on Sunday. That is the best I've seen this Colts defense play for a long, long time.
I agree.
Grover Stewart absolutely ate up that centre. That centre's not going to want to play football again after that game. The fumble, the coverage I had, CBS, I think it was trying to say it was a rough in the passer. I was like, get out of here. Get out. Not in a million worlds is that a rough in the passer, unless it's Brady or Mahomes. But, I thought Buck had a good game. Obviously, first game back from injury. Kenny, again, we got that that was just. This is why I get so annoyed with us, Bradley, because that is what this defense can do. Granted, the big mistake was putting a rookie Jalen Jones on an island with Justin Jefferson. That was criminal. But other than that, that was a good performance.
Yeah, you absolutely took some thoughts on my head, and I just want to, take a second as well to praise Kenny Moore. He is just balling. And in a season when, we've been we personally have been so frustrated with the Colts tackling, especially at the start of the season. Kenny was just putting on a clinic on Sunday night of how to tackle and shedding a block. He was everywhere. Back to, and of course, Grover, JJ Watt described it as the perfect sack. Can't really praise it any better than JJ has. For me, though, I'm almost in awe of the defense's performance, especially when you contrast it to how bad the offense played.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know if you've noticed, but I keep seeing a stat line crop up, and that's that the Colts are 32nd in the league in time of possession. How is this defense meant to stay, unfatigued, mate? They're on the field constantly because Shane is just. You've summarised it perfectly in past episodes. At times, he just starts to outthink himself.
Yeah.
Let's look at the opening drive. It was brilliant, it was creative, it was flowing. Yes, we had the fumble, so be it. When you change your quarterback every week, that's going to happen. But, not putting the spotlight on the O, but the D just couldn't get off the field to have some Gatorade at times on Sunday. They would just come back up again, and I don't know how you're meant to keep that energy for what's turning into 40 minutes sometimes, because our time of possession is so bad.
Well, the fact is, the offense didn't score a point on Sunday. The defense did. When you're getting outscored by your own defense, you're getting outscored by your own kicker, that is not a good sign.
And we are meant to believe that this is win now. We're meant to believe that Joe's taking us to the promised land. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing for everyone. But we'll talk about that on another show. But defense balled out completely. It was awesome to watch. It hasn't been awesome to watch at times this year. But as Howard said, we're starting to see a bit of a theme here where, the Colts have put some really good tape out in the last few weeks, Andy.
Yeah, and I suppose, and I think I've said this, and I think this is fair, and this is, honestly, this is what annoys me about Gus Bradley. I watched that game, like you said, that defense on the field. They were on the field for the full 60, as far as I'm concerned. Tired. So, but even then, they were pretty elite. Like I say, Justin Jefferson, he got open, but he is the best receiver. And I mean, we Gus Bradley fell for the play action touchdown pass, but that's football. Football's going to do that to you sometimes. So I know he can ram up these brilliant disguised blitzes and these nickel blitzes. Kenny's the best nickel blitzer in the league. He's the best nickel corner in the league. And for me, I think he's one of the best corners in the league. And I just think, man, you can do this. And then we revert into this cover-3 base defense. And I'm just like, all that hard work you've done, and you've just given up a 3rd and 16 again.
I think the problem with this is why I sound really negative here. Maybe I do, but hopefully I can back it up with realism, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, there is no point in Indy making it to the playoffs because our secondary is going to get destroyed by any team that has good receiving core.
Yeah.
Like we saw on Sunday. Shout out JJ, top 2 wide receiver. People could view him as top 1. Guy's a machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you almost knew like he was going to have a big night. And yeah, we double covered him a lot. We did. But then when we didn't, like any time I seen him in single coverage, I was like, he's getting 20, he's getting 24, he's getting 25. And he regularly was. I think in the first half, he had 4 plays of 25 yards plus.
Mm-hmm.
That's insane. And very hard to cover. But again, when you have a GM who tells us all that he likes his guys and he wants to play his young guys, but he doesn't want to play his young quarterback, this is what you need to expect.
Yeah.
Playoffs seems pointless. Maybe it'll save him and Shane their job. Maybe it'll save Gus his job too. But it just doesn't seem worth it.
It's the old, forgive me, I forget which Colts staff member it is, but the playoffs meme. Playoffs? You're talking about the playoffs? No, so just to like sort of round up here, the Colts defense, fantastic. Also, I thought because I can appreciate the Vikings and what their defense did. I think we obviously helped them but they just loaded the box. It weren't even that special. They just loaded the box when you are not running the ball, and Joe Flacco forgot how to throw a ball.
I think you're exactly right. It was actually fun to watch what Brian Flores was doing.
Yeah.
There was so much activity, so much happening. And, maybe there is a conspiracy that they didn't want to put Anthony against this front because I think it would have been ugly. He's raw, he's untested, and then you're putting him up against Flores. You could have been looking at multi-picks and maybe hitting the bench anyway. So, yeah, sure of Flores. The guy's going to be a head coach next year. I have no doubt about it. But yeah, Vikings were cooking, but cooking to the tune of the Colts offense doing nothing.
Yeah. Last couple of points as well. Matt Gay doesn't look good on Ballard. This.
It's a bit of a theme to this episode, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we should call this episode tonight. Ballard's paying him
the highest paid
bracket money. He could still be, yeah. And the guy makes the headlines for not kicking field goals more than he does seem to make the headlines for kicking them. So, yeah, again, a product of mediocrity. Can't word it any other way.
Can't word it. If I've got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you are Sam Erlinger, are you not just hanging up your jersey and going working for a car showroom at this point in your career? Because I would be like, listen, coach, I know Richardson's the future and everything, but you're not giving me a chance over this guy.
I mean, no, I don't agree with that because it's Joe Flacco, ex Super Bowl winning MVP, a Super Bowl winner, a guy who in the stretch last season kind of made, I think, the world want to tune in to watch Cleveland Browns because you had, Joe got up off the couch and took him to the playoffs. I do think Erlinger is kind of, maybe past his sell-by date now. I wouldn't be surprised if he went to seek a new team and, tried to fight and kind of get in. But On the Richardson front, I was reading today, Stephen Holder reported that the Colts have had multiple calls today about trading Richardson, and they've said, get the hell off the phone every time. So Richardson is still the future, that says to me.
You can't trade a QB after benching him. You're going to get a call for him. But yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah, that was just a bit of like, obviously I don't expect Sammy Slinger to be QB1 by any means, but what I just thought was like, I know what you mean. You go with the name, especially as a backup, but I've been looking at myself going, God, I really can't start. I can't start when our completion percentage is 30%.
And I think I know what you mean. When you look at it angle, you probably are looking in the mirror when you get home going, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? You're very right there. You make a good point, mate.
I also think he, just from like a personal thing, he's more Anthony Richardson than he is more Joey Flacco. He's a mobile QB. He's the RPO QB. So that was just my thinking. But yeah, what do I know? I'm just a sucker for a backup quarterback.
You love Sammy Slinger, and that's probably you probably should have added that as a disclaimer.
Yeah, I did. He's a great summertime QB. But yeah, it's just so. Let's sort of end with the what is going on and the whole Anthony Richardson, because that's what the big talking point is. The minute is I don't see. So my first point is I don't see anyone fighting for each other on this team. We watched Richardson get slammed down to the ground in week 2 against the Texans, and nobody did anything. And for me, that's more of a nobody wants to be a leader of this team at the minute. Not Q, great player. He's playing out of his skin at his minute. Q, that offensive line, I personally think are playing really well. But Ryan, I thought that was really sort of pathetic and sad for Ryan Kelly to come out and be like, "Oh yeah, well, we talked to him and he can't do that." And I just think, and the whole thing was public, and for me, it should have stayed in the locker room.
And the fact that Kelly was the only captain on the team who was told personally the news, the other captains had to find out through social media.
Yeah,
that is not a team with strong leadership
or strong connection. Do you know what I mean? Like, everyone's just like, they're getting asked these same questions. I'm like, what do you want them to say? And I know they're looking for anything, the media. They look for anything. Of course, that's their job. I'm not having a go at them, but what do you want them to say other than it's not politically correct, but the media correct answer of, Anthony, and I'm just like, someone could have just come out and gone to bat for the kid. And I think the fact that none of them did is a pretty much it's a disgrace. Because I'll segue this into my last point, and I think I shared it on the Twitter account, and you know this, I like to bring it back to soccer, football. But there's a clip of Arsene Wenger, and for people who don't know it, he was a manager of Arsenal a long time. Breaking news from Howard. Just saw Kelly's being put on IR.
Hey, roll on Tanner Bartolini.
Tanner Bartolini
balled out the other day, so what an opportunity for him to get a job.
The flying centre. But yeah, so there's a clip of Arsene saying, he knows he has to play a 18-year-old kid, and he knows he's going to cost him points throughout the season, and it's up to him to stand up there and take that, because he knows also if he plays a 27-year-old player, that player might cost him less points, but the reward of developing that young player is no longer there. And I think the way American sports is, it's a whole American sport thing. I think they want to develop, but you don't have the world to develop in, if that makes sense. It's like you say, everyone, and this is more worldly now, but everyone's win now. What have you got me now? What have you got me now? Nobody wants to build that project, and it, like you say, Ballard and Stag can come out. We want to build this Anthony Richardson project, and then all of a sudden they're gone. No, we don't want to do that anymore. And that's just sort of my last point is, you're going to have to pull with the growing pains of a rookie QB kid who is 22. He's younger than Josh Downs. I think I've said that before, but that's that's amazing to me. And I think I looked, and somebody might be able to correct me on this, but he's younger than like something like 20 odd of the first round picks going this year.
Yeah, he could be. I don't know, but he's the youngest QB in the league. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like we said, I think it's just been a bit of an absolutely ridiculous manhunt, and the whole he tapped out of the whole game. He didn't. He needed 30 seconds, but they've run with the tap. He's tapped out of the game because it's catchy, right? Because he tapped his helmet. It is catchy, but and it's all rage bait now. That's how media works. That's clicks drives engagement and drives money, and that's the only thing that matters. So I just want to say to anyone saying I've spent all this season saying to Anthony Richardson, just slide. You don't need to lower. You're not Andrew Luck. You don't need to lower your shoulder into a smaller player. Just slide. We've seen it end badly before. And I'll be honest, when he came out of that drive, and it was reporting, he needed a break. I was like, okay, yeah, that's smart. People might not agree with this, but I was like, this kid's got hopefully 10 years, 12 years of playing football. If he just goes, I need a second, then I'm okay with that.
Yeah, we differ there. I think, mate, but we definitely don't need to fall out over it. But hey, it makes for good debate, right? It makes for good debate.
And this is what I'm saying. Like, I've no problem with your opinion of it, because that's how you feel and that's how you would run it. The problem for me, I suppose I should end that better. The problem for me is just the whole witch hunt of completely. We're going to absolutely bury this 22-year-old kid.
Yeah. It seems to be what the media gets off on in America right now.
And I suppose that's a bigger talking point, and we'll save that because I don't want to keep you much longer, because it's something we could talk a long time about. But the whole we see it now with, you go on any social media. All my social media is geared towards Tottenham and Man City fans. I'm an Arsenal fan. Do you know what I mean? It's mental, but this is the last point from Howard, and I'll give you the last sort of sign off, Nathan. A good head coach calls a timeout when their QB taps like that. Yeah.
Completely agree with you. The whole thing was handled so badly.
Yeah.
Steichen should even have come to the podium and said, it was a miscommunication. Anthony's helmet stopped working. Anything to protect the kid. And like Harrison said earlier, that should have been dealt with in the office in private.
Yeah.
lots of great points from you, mate, and that's another one.
Yeah, so like we say, we both agree on the sense something should have been done, and we both agree on that. It was just fucking ridiculous the way it's been dealt with. But Nathan, I'll give you the sign off and maybe try and get me hyped for. God, I don't even know who our next game is. The Bills.
It is, yeah. We have Josh Allen coming to town. Yeah, you've given me a tough job. Look, this could be the big turning point for two reasons. If the Colts win, they're back to 500. They're sitting very, very safe in second place in the AFC South. Woohoo! We're all really happy about that. If the Colts lose, this just looks terrible for Shane. Shane needs to set the world on fire on Sunday. I think we're either going to see that or we're going to see Josh Allen set the UK Colts fans group chat on fire on Sunday. But go Colts.
Yeah. Yeah, we end positive. We all, regardless, I can talk about Flacco and what I don't like it and shade it what I don't, but they are our QB and head coach at least this season, so I'll get behind them.
Yeah, let's keep supporting.
Nathan, thanks for joining us. Howard, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. Engage. We love engagement. Search us on Twitter. We usually air every Tuesday unless one of us is ill, or unless on Sunday the Colts play that horrendously bad. We just don't want to talk about it. But yeah, like I say, Nate, thanks for joining me. Howard, thanks for joining in. See you all later. After the Colts beat the Bills 34-0.